Right, game week 3. It's Sunday morning. I'm at the end of the road festival. Bit of a strange game week for me to try and kind of keep an eye on things while at music festival. I've got to say, I've had about 3 hours sleep because we're camping next to what appears to be an Olympic snorer who turns in at 10 p.m. every night. So I'm a bit delirious, and yeah, I'm starting to wonder whether the sheen of music festivals is wearing off a bit. I've got heartburn from the food, tinnitus from the music, and I think I paid 14 quid for a duck wrap yesterday, and I've been pooing in a bin for 3 days. Yeah, I should qualify that. The toilets here are kind of like cubicles with bins below them. I haven't literally been looking around for bins to poo in. Although, to be fair, after the second hat-trick from Haaland, I did feel pretty feral. That was a blow, I've got to say. I've tried not to let it affect my mood whilst being here. Managed to see some of it on Match of the Day last night. Oh yeah, I'll keep my hand in even while here. And yeah, pretty excruciating to watch. But I've got Son and Salah today, and you know, 1 or 2 returns from them, and everything will be all right. And yeah, I'm not thinking of getting him. Oh no. You know, he's only a regression from here, surely. So maybe that's the lack of sleep and the lack of medication speaking, but no, not for me. So yeah, I'm going to be returning home tomorrow, and I'll catch up on the game week then, start doing the video, look at some stats, watch some of the matches back then. So I'll see you then. I'm going to go and look for another bin. See you a bit later. So I'm back in the civilised world, back home. But that was almost a week ago. In fact, it was a week ago, and I haven't been able to film anything since because of the weather's been so bloody awful. In fact, it's pretty bad today. It's damp, very muddy underfoot, could slip over at any moment. But I thought I'd do a quick video, a bit different really, because the game week review has kind of been and gone now. So I thought I'd get on camera and talk about perhaps my team and some of the common issues that people have got in their FPL lineups going into game week 4 over the international break. So yeah, I'm still smarting from the Haaland hat-trick, the second one of course, but of course on that day Salah matched him with another 17-pointer, and he's matched him 41 points to this stage after 3 game weeks. Quite extraordinary how the players have kind of just fitted into their brackets and scored points accordingly. Salah and Haaland top tier, 41 points, then you've got Saka, Palmer, Son are all kind of doing their job in their price bracket. It's probably the likes of Diaz who's kind of broken out and exceeded expectations in terms of his value. More on him in a bit, I'm sure. So what do I do about Haaland? Am I panicking? Not yet. The way I look at it is, you know, he's obviously got back-to-back hat-tricks, but Salah's kept pace, so that's been good. My problem hasn't been not owning Haaland. My problem has been the captaincy, because game week 1 I captained Isak, got Salah's 10 points game week 2, then captained Saka last game week. And of course that's been a bit unfortunate. Most of the managers around me have either gone Haaland or Salah. The reason why it's unfortunate is because Isak and Saka have both been in teams that have been reduced to 10 men with almost, well, more than 45 minutes to go in some cases. So I've got to look at it philosophically and think that if they'd have kept 11 men on the pitch, both Newcastle and Arsenal could have scored more goals. Isak and Saka would have done better, and therefore the gap between myself, my team, and teams with Haaland captain in all 3 games would have been smaller. So I don't think there's too much wrong on my lineup. And Haaland has, of course, been, you know, he's not going to keep this hat-trick a game up, is he? So I've got to think there's got to be some regression. We're entering a phase now where I think Salah and Saka, that combo, which I've got, could do better than Haaland given the fixtures. So right now, yeah, no panic with Haaland from me. So the plan will be to captain Salah and Saka up until game week 8. I think Haaland has Fulham at home in game week 7, which is a great fixture, obviously, but Saka has Southampton at home, so I feel okay with that. But then from game week 8, City's fixtures really look very strong, and I don't know if I want to go forward without Haaland at that point. So that, between 7 and 8 is where I'm looking to play the wild card. And that, of course, is another international break, so that kind of plays into the hands there. So if you're not playing it between this period, game week 3 and 4, between game week 7 and 8 looks the next best period, because you go into a City swing of fixtures. Now, don't get me wrong, I have looked to see if I can play it over this break. Obviously we're week in now, so I'll probably let it too late anyway. But when I looked at it, the lineup I could get with Haaland and Salah and Saka, because I do think that's necessary. More on that, I'll try and cover that in a bit, but I do think holding Saka is necessary. That kind of wild card will give me a 4-5 keeper, it'll give me 2 4-5 defenders and a 4 million defender, and crucially it'll give me a 4-5 attacker as my third attacker. So for me, I'd have a very weak bench. I'll be over dependent on Rodgers in midfield, and I'd have to be playing a 4-5 defender and have a 4 million defender as backup some weeks. It's just too skinny for me. I just don't like it. So I'm going to resist that, with a view that I've got to obviously keep an eye on budget. I've got to manage that very carefully, but that's what I do anyway. And then look to potentially play that wild card between game week 7 and 8. I will roll transfers, so the way I'm thinking is it's going to be 1 transfer this week. I'll probably get Eze in this week. Then I'll hold for game week 5, make 2 transfers in game week 6, because I want to get on the Brentford and Arsenal swing, so I'm looking at Mbeumo and Havertz at that point. Then I'll roll on game week 7 and then take 2 into game week 8. Now, I'll have a decision to make at that point whether I have to play the wild card going into game week 8 in order to get on City, or whether 2 transfers will be enough. I could take a hit. Will I want Haaland at that point, or will Foden be a factor? Foden rather? I don't know. I mean, there's something going on there, but hopefully by game week 8, Foden might be in our thinking and won't cover Haaland, but it'll give us some City cover for that good run. That's the plan at the moment, but we'll see. I'm certainly going to get through this break without the wild card anyway. But should you wildcard? Well, I guess if you're leaking team value, that is going to be really annoying. If you're sitting on Quansah, you're sitting on Nkunku in particular, then perhaps it is time to make the move, particularly if you don't have Trent, if you don't have Robertson, and you don't have a means to cover that Liverpool attack. Presumably a lot of you have gone Haaland or Salah. Obviously if you have Haaland and you're trying to get to Liverpool attack, you could get to Trent, you could get to Robertson, you could go Diaz, although the international break could be a worry there. But obviously a lot of people are looking at selling Saka and getting to Salah that way. Now, there is merit in that for a couple of game weeks, because obviously Saka has Spurs and then he has Man City. So I get it. I get why people are looking at that. But from game week 6, you're going to want to get on Arsenal. There's a big Arsenal swing at that point, along with a prolonged swing towards Brentford too. So if you're wildcarding and you're losing Saka for Salah, or you're foregoing any Brentford assets, which I imagine you will have to if you're going to try and get Haaland and Salah, then you've got to have a plan, I think, for game week 6. You've got to be able to navigate back to some Arsenal cover and maybe get yourself a Brentford asset as well, because if you don't, you'll be up against managers with perhaps Saka with Havertz as a double up, Raya in goal, or an Arsenal defender, and perhaps against managers who've got Mbeumo and Wissa. That's what I plan to do. That's what I'm going to move towards for game week 6. So if you're wildcarding in this period for game week 4 and you're going Haaland and Salah, I get it. But just think about that swing from game week 6 onwards. So just to round off this video, a few questions that perhaps you're going to be asking yourself over this very dull international break period. First of all, should you worry about players coming back from long haul flights, etc.? I mean, obviously you've got to worry about injuries that might happen whilst out on international duty, but travelling back is also a factor. And we've seen João Pedro be a late call up to the Brazil squad, weren't expecting that. So that's obviously a concern because he's well owned and goes into a plum Ipswich fixture that we want him for. I'll be starting him. And you know, Diaz is similar, very popular player, playing with Colombia, so he has a long haul flight. I think with both those players and others travelling back, what we should do is basically monitor what news we get from the clubs, because journalists will ask about it. Clubs will make special, you know, process to try and get their players back on time to play for Saturday. So I don't think it's too much for concern. We do tend to overplay this kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be worried yet, but I certainly wouldn't move towards those players. I would certainly wait and see and try and get as much information as you can. What about Watkins? He's a player that I had on my long-term watch list, and around about this time I was going to bring him in, but obviously what we've seen so far over the 3 game weeks, there's been lots of missed chances, but early substitutions in all 3 games, and you know, the form of Duran is a concern because Emery knows he's got a very effective option on the bench to take him off and rest him, and obviously there could be, it seems that some kind of issue here with Watkins, whether it's fatigue from the Euros, it's not clear. But I think we need more time before we can make a decision to bring Watkins in, even though Villa's fixtures are so appealing. So I'm not going to move towards him. If you've got him, you hold him, no question. I think he starts. Whether he gets more than an hour remains to be seen. So not a move to Watkins, not a player I bring on the wild card, not a player I bring in with a transfer, but certainly a hold. What about Palmer? Another mystery around him because he hasn't been included in Chelsea's Europa Conference League squad, of course, which was a strange one. Presumably, that, you know, it's just managing the load is the factor behind that. Not on international duty as well, which I thought was a bit stranger because Lee Carsley knows Palmer well. He's a player that he'd want to establish in his team, and Palmer obviously would want to stamp a claim for a starting role under Carsley. So that worries me a bit more. I mean, both of those things for me are making me think that, yeah, I can afford to look at elsewhere right now, and that Palmer, although he's incredibly attractive as an FPL asset, with decent fixtures to come, the urgency to move towards him isn't quite enough yet. I'm sitting on Son, and for me, I think I need to go Son to Eze rather than Son up to Palmer, because Eze has that Leicester fixture, he has United at home, and then he goes to Everton. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep one eye on Palmer, don't get me wrong, but I just think there's a lot of noise around him that is worrying me a little bit, and I need more time. As I've said time and time again, I need more time to assess what this Maresca Chelsea is going to play like and what will come Palmer's way in terms of points. So that's it for me, a shortened video this week, not the usual material, so sorry about that, but I had to have that time off between the festival and now, so I couldn't really look back on the game. It didn't seem relevant, so I thought I'd hit you with a few topics there just to tide us over on this incredibly dull international break. I do hate them. I mean, it's absolutely awful. Just a week to go before we kick off on FPL again, and I can't wait for that. So we've got BlackBox next week, so just to timestamp this is Sunday afternoon. So in a few days time we'll be prepping for the next episode of BlackBox. We'll be looking forward to Gameweek 4. We'll go into depth on some of the things that I spoke about in this video. But that's it for me now. I'll see you soon. See you on BlackBox in the week. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like if you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Oh, jeez.